I know what trending is better than anybody in the world. I've been trending my whole life. From the day I was born, I've been trending.
Probably be some sort of provocation on his part with someone else, like another country. I think he'll stir the pot, and there will probably be some sort of military action.
I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
They're probably headed for a divorce. I would say July of August of this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if Obama had some infidelity or indiscretion. Even though it might look like Elon is, I think Donald Trump has the real power. No, I don't think it will last forever, ever. I don't know. It could be a year. It could be 2.5 years. It could be 3 months.
I went to an
And who do we have back with us? The person who predicted Donald Trump's victory despite all the poll numbers and very close to the final day. It did not look good for Donald Trump, but Amy Tripp, who was with us earlier, joins us again, an astrologer, not a sophologist, but somebody who stuck her neck out and said that it is going to be Donald Trump, despite the numbers for Kamala Harris on the rise. Amy, thank you so much for coming back, joining us again. You stand vindicated. A lot of people questioned you, ridiculed, and also, had many questions that they had to put when it comes to your predictions. But you stuck your neck out and you said Donald Trump will win, and he has indeed won.
Yeah, I'm glad that he won because it was a big risk for me to take by making that call.
And how does it feel? Did you get a lot of messages, a lot of people calling you up asking, how did you get it? How did you predict this?
Yeah, it was interesting because since I predicted it back in May 2022, a lot of people were just amazed how I had known 2 years prior before him even entering the race. So yeah, I did get a lot of, congratulatory calls though.
Okay, the larger picture over here. Now we're looking at Donald Trump as the 47th president of the United States of America. What are your predictions for his second term as president?
Okay, so to see how someone's term for president would be, you would look at the inauguration day chart because that is essentially the birth chart of the presidency. So tomorrow's astrology is pretty complex. The sun is conjunct Pluto. That is an aspect about power, control. It can be destructive or manipulative. It can also be extremely transformative, but it has a lot to do with wanting to have a lot of power. Venus is also going to be conjunct Saturn, and that is more of, in a person's chart, would be more of maybe a relationship transit or manifestation. But in the chart of a country, Venus also represents finances. And when Venus and Saturn are together, usually there's a restriction in finances, a cutting back in some ways. So I don't think the economy is going to be doing, really well the whole time he's president. Also, Mars is opposite Pluto and it's square Eris, the goddess of war, Mars' sister. So what this says is that there will probably be some sort of provocation on his part with someone else, like another country. I think he'll stir the pot, and there will probably be some sort of military action that takes place. I don't know if that's a war or what, but I do think there will be some aggressiveness involved in his presidency as well.
Okay. We will go back to your prediction when we spoke last about a threat to his life, attempts of assassination yet again. Do you still predict that?
It's hard to say, but I would not rule it out. Donald Trump, I did say in a TikTok video months ago that he had danger in his chart early this spring. So if there's any time he needs to watch for accidents or anything happening suddenly that could hurt him, it would probably be around the spring. But I wouldn't rule that out. He's still having a transit. It's Uranus square his Mars in his birth chart, which can show danger and violence.
Okay. A lot of what you're saying, I might not be able to understand, Amy, because you're talking about signs over here, the moon chart, so on and so forth. But and I have to tell you this, Amy, because when I did the interview with you prior to the elections, I also received a lot of criticism saying that as a journalist, as somebody heading the foreign desk of a network, how are you, how is it okay interviewing astrologers? But the fact of the matter is that this is also part of a lot of conversation that happened during elections. And so it becomes part of news for us. And therefore, Amy Tripp is back on our network and she will be talking about her further predictions. Very interesting, Amy. You talk about aggressiveness and war. Now, over here, we do know that Donald Trump, and he's reached out to Chinese President Xi Jinping as well, wants to work towards peace. So, are we going to see efforts towards peace, or is there going to be aggression? And if that's the case, what's the region that your reading tells you? Is it the Middle East, or is it the Russian region, Europe, so to say?
I don't know the region. I do think Donald Trump is going to do what he can to form alliances that make him more powerful, like the one with China or Russia. But I do see him having some antagonistic energy in his chart, like he's saying going to Greenland. Like I can see him being a little unpredictable and unconventional and doing things that are just, things people wouldn't think you would do, and maybe taking military action to do that.
Okay, that's very interesting because it's not just Greenland. He's also spoken about Canada and Mexico. Yeah. So, what's your reading on how things are going to look between India and the United States and Canada, and between the United States and Mexico?
I haven't looked too much between the two charts between the two countries, so it's really hard to say for me to. Well, it's really hard for me to make that prediction astrologically.
Okay, but you do see that there are going to be a lot of aggressive posturing when it comes to, and he's already begun with that when it comes to these areas as well.
Yes, I think he'll actually provoke something. I don't think it'll be a response. I think it'll be him provoking, stirring the pot, not a response by the U.S. first because of something else someone did. Does that make sense? I think he'll initiate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's going to be the initiator, the provocateur over here. Again, let's broad base it a little. And I know you might not have really read in depth, but because it's an Indian network, I have to ask you, how do things look between India and the US, between Trump and Modi?
I have not looked at that either. I haven't looked at that either. I'm sorry.
That's all right. But we will maybe hopefully come back to you asking more about how it looks, how relations between India and US would look, especially to do with President Trump and Prime Minister Modi, because they've had a very good camaraderie, so to say, in the past. But there are areas of concern between the two countries, and we'll have to talk about that as well. Coming to the cabinet, what's your reading on his appointments and his picks?
Good question. Pete Hegseth, the Department of Defense, really, really dicey chart. He has some indications showing a hard no, but then he has one of the most lucky transits you can have in your chart happening at the same time. So that's a toss up, but I think he's probably gonna get through. I think his confirmation nominations from the charts I've looked at, which is just Pete Hegseth, really. I think he'll get through, even though
Okay.
it's really dicey. You can tell that he's facing a lot of adversity right now in his chart because he's having a transit that shows kind of karma and your past actions catching up with you and getting trouble with authority, so to speak.
And that's exactly what's happening. But you're still saying that it's not a toss-up, that he, in all probability, will make Secretary of Defense.
I think he will, based on his chart. It's a tough call for me. It was a hard decision on that one. It wasn't easy. But if I had to say, I said he will get confirmed.
You're saying Pete Hegseth will get confirmed. That's big news. Um, uh, and what about Trump's relations with Elon Musk? Will it last the entire term, or given the kind of personalities that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are they going to face trouble?
Well, it's really interesting because Elon Musk's Venus, which is his planet of affection and love, is right on Trump's sun, which is his ego and identity. So, in a relationship chart, that's actually a sign of true love. So, and they have some other connections that would actually show. I mean, I'm surprised they're not getting married, but they really do have this kind of like instant connection. But Trump's Uranus is involved in that connection, and that shows instability. So I don't think there's stability in this connection. And when I look at to see who has the power at the end of the day, because of the way the charts are, Donald Trump is the one wearing the pants. Even though it might look like Elon is, I think Donald Trump has the real power in this relationship. But I
And
don't
they
think
will.
it will. Uh-huh.
And you think it'll last?
No, I don't think it will last forever, ever. I don't know. It could be a year. It could be 2.5 years. It could be 3 months. I just know it will be
It won't last the entire term.
unstable. Their relationship also shows having a quick friendship, like getting together really quickly and instantly hitting it off. But it can also show instantly separating or having a quick ending as well.
So it won't last the entire presidential term.
I don't know. I would doubt it, but I would have to look further into their charts a little deeper. I would doubt it would last the entire presidential term, but just considering both men. But I mean, it could. I just don't think it's a lifelong friendship.
Okay, not a lifelong friendship. What about the First Lady? A lot of speculation on what's going to happen when it comes to his family. He does come out as a very strong personality and a family man when it comes to his children. They stand with him, they stand by him. But what is your reading on Melania Trump, the First Lady?
Well, I don't think she is. I think she's just there. But I will say I looked at her chart right before this because I hadn't really looked at it. I knew you were going to ask me about her. And Uranus is going to conjunct her Venus. I believe it was August and December. And that is a transit that could show sudden changes in your relationship or with your significant other. A lot of times it would show a separation. When so for instance, if you were a single person and had that transit, you might suddenly meet someone. But when you're been married a while and you have that transit, the change could be destabilization. It's actually the same transit I was just talking about Elon and Trump having. But Melania is having that in her life coming up. Middle of this year through early next year. I wouldn't be surprised. And because Venus conjunct Saturn is in the inauguration day chart, which is a aspect that can show separation in relationships, I wouldn't be surprised if they got separated. I mean, it may not be public because that sort of thing usually is going to be private, but I think they're going to be living separate lives. I think they already are, but however more they can be. That's what I think.
Okay. And any more predictions for the family?
Not for the family. I haven't looked at anyone else's chart except Melania and Donald or Mr.
Okay.
Trump. Yeah.
And what about other presidents, the past presidents' relationships with Donald Trump? We did see that Obama and Donald Trump shared a moment there at the Carter funeral, and that became a huge piece of news. How are things going to look in terms of the Republican Party and Donald Trump vis-a-vis various other parties, the politics of the country? Is it going to be helpful or rather adverse?
I think Donald Trump's going to have a pretty strong grip on the party. I think he's going to be make himself known to be the person in control, and other people are going to have to bend to him.
Okay, that's a very clear message. But this is his second and his last term. So, in terms of the future, have you done any reading on what the future for America is going to look like in terms of leaders, upcoming leaders, newer faces?
I have not. I have not.
What about JD Vance?
I haven't looked at his chart either since probably the first time we talked. He's kind of been in the, missing. So I just keep forgetting to look at his chart.
Okay. There's another area that you wanted to touch upon, and that had to do with the Obamas. A lot of speculation, a lot of rumors, a lot of conversation in news doing the rounds when it comes to Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I love the Obamas personally, and I've always looked at them as just the perfect couple. But, I heard the rumor on TikTok, and I was like, what? Let me look at their charts. And sure enough, they're probably headed for a divorce. I would say July of August of this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if Obama had some infidelity or indiscretion. The rumor is that it's with Jennifer Aniston. Now that's just a rumor. But I do think there's something there with this whole thing. And I looked at both of their charts, and both of them at the same exact time are having transits to their Venus, which is their relationship planet that would show a separation. So, and that's in July and August. So maybe they make it through, but they're definitely going through a rocky patch right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you say that, because a lot of speculation was also rife about Michelle Obama having presidential ambitions, or is she ever, if she ever runs for president or contests the primaries, a divorce will really not be helpful.
Yeah, I don't think she wants to do politics. I think she's going to stay out of politics.
Does that what her charts say?
Well, not what her charts say, but just what she said. And I think that she's just overall has kind of made it clear that she would rather sit out of the political game. But I mean, she could always change her mind. But I haven't looked at her chart to see. But I just don't think, usually I look to see something if it's within the realm of possibility. So if someone says no, then I don't really look to see if it's there, if that makes sense.
Okay. Also, the inauguration day was supposed to be a massive spectacle, and it has turned out to be weather turned out to be a real spoil sport, played spoil sport, and it's a real dampener. The entire venue has been moved indoors, and it does seem like for President Trump, he'll not be breaking records of Barack Obama and other presidents where the turnout was way, way, way more. Is there something that you saw? Is that something that you saw in your predictions?
No, that's not something I saw. It's not something I noticed at all.
Okay, but finally, Amy, before I let you go, as an American yourself, not just your predictions, but somebody who's been following the politics of the country, do you think Donald Trump will be able to lead America to stability and lead the world to a more peaceful place, so to say?
I can't say that I'm confident about that. I can say I'm hopeful, very hopeful. Maybe things have changed and with him, but knowing the person that he is and how he's led before, I'm not too. I can't say I'm confident in that.
Okay.
I'm a little worried, actually.
You are. Are there anything, is there anything else that you actually looked at and you were surprised that we really haven't discussed?
I do see that during Trump's presidency, there's going to be a big focus on technology and technological innovation, maybe with the space and SpaceX or social media or something along those lines. But I feel like that is going to be a big part of his presidency, and a positive part is the technological innovations that are going to come about. That's the only thing I didn't mention that I thought of.
Anything else? Anything quirky, interesting that we should know before I let you go?
Jennifer Aniston and Barack Obama did have some compatibility aspects, but if that rumor is true, then they won't last because they have Venus square Uranus between each other, and that tends to be unstable. So if that rumor is true, it's not going to last. And I hope that rumor is not true. That would be so crazy. If that happened, America would go crazy.
Okay, on that note, Amy Tripp, congratulations on your predictions. You got it right. You stuck your neck out. And thank you so much for joining us again. We'll see if there are more predictions that you make that could turn out to be right. And we'll keep coming back to you, having these conversations from time to time. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining us.
Thank you. Take care.